The courtroom air was heavy, like a storm waiting to break. Thud. The judge's gavel struck once, a hollow sound that echoed across the polished oak room. All eyes turned toward Lena Carter, a black woman in her early 30s. Her hands trembled slightly, but her face, still, calm, dignified, showed no trace of the chaos swirling inside her chest across from her. Her husband, Ethan, once the love of her life, leaned casually in his chair. His suit was crisp, his smirk colder than the air conditioning. Beside him sat Melissa, the young blonde woman who now wore the same perfume Lena once used. The scent stung her memory like glass. Lena's breath hitched. "Don't cry here." "Not here, Mrs. Carter," the judge's voice boomed. "Do you understand that by signing this document, you're agreeing to the full terms of this divorce?" A paper slid toward her. The sound of the pen scratching echoed too loud. Ethan leaned in, voice dripping with smugness. "Come on, Lena. Let's not drag this out. You've done enough embarrassing yourself already." Melissa chuckled softly, tapping her nails on the table. "Yeah, we've got lunch reservations." The room went quiet. Even the court reporter paused her typing for a second. Lena looked at them both, her husband and his mistress, sitting side by side, whispering as if they were in a cafe. Not a courtroom dissolving a decade of love. Her chest burned. She could feel her heartbeat pounding in her throat. Each thud sounded like a countdown. To something breaking, the judge cleared his throat. "Mr. Carter, I'll remind you to keep this proceeding respectful." But Ethan shrugged. "Respect? Your Honor, respect died when she stopped being a wife. Let's be real, this is just paperwork now." A flash of light. Photographers outside the door. Ethan's company was high profile. This divorce had already leaked. Lena felt eyes boring into her, some pitying, some judgmental, some gleeful. She thought of the years she'd built this man's empire from scratch. The late nights managing his books, answering his emails while their baby slept on her lap. And now, she was being erased from her own story. Melissa whispered, a little too loudly, "Guess money can buy class after all." Ethan snorted. She wouldn't know. The pen in Lena's hand snapped. The sound cracked through the air like thunder. The judge's brow rose. A murmur rippled through the room. Lena slowly placed the broken pen down. Her voice was steady. "You know what's funny, Ethan?" He blinked. "What?" She met his eyes, a quiet fire glowing behind hers. "You're signing this divorce like it's the end of my story. But maybe." Her tone dropped to a whisper. "It's the start of yours." Melissa rolled her eyes. "Oh, please." But there was a tremor there. The judge looked between them, sensing tension he hadn't expected. Lena straightened her back. The trembling was gone now. Her next words sliced through the air. "Before you finish signing that paper, Your Honor, there's something you need to know." The courtroom stilled. The gavel hovered midair. Ethan's smirk faltered. The judge leaned forward. "And what might that be, Mrs. Carter?" Lena's eyes didn't move from Ethan's face. Only her lips did. "It's about the man sitting across from me, and what he did with our marriage funds." Gasps. The courtroom exploded in whispers. Ethan stiffened. "Lena, don't." But it was too late. The judge's eyes narrowed. "Explain yourself, Mrs. Carter." Lena took a slow breath, her voice sharp as steel. "I will, but not until I have permission to show the evidence." A collective inhale. The room froze. Even Melissa's face drained of color. The gavel struck again. Thud. "Court will recess for 10 minutes, the judge ordered. Mrs. Carter, remain where you are." Lena exhaled slowly, finally meeting Ethan's furious stare. For the first time. He looked nervous. She whispered just loud enough for him to hear. "You built your empire on lies. Ethan, let's see if it stands in court." Rain drummed softly on the courthouse windows as the recess stretched on. Lena sat still, her fingers clasped tightly in her lap, watching raindrops slide down the glass like memories she couldn't wash away. In her mind, she wasn't in the courtroom anymore. She was home, years ago. In a tiny one-bedroom apartment that always smelled of coffee and printer ink. That's where it all began. Back then, Ethan wasn't a millionaire. He was a dreamer in worn-out sneakers, pacing the floor with business plans written on napkins. And Lena. She was the quiet storm behind him, working double shifts as a nurse, studying accounting at night, keeping them both alive on grit and faith. Someday. Lena, Ethan had said one night. holding her hand across their wobbly kitchen table. We'll have an office downtown. Big windows. You'll run the numbers. I'll run the company. She smiled then, believing every word. Because back then, his eyes still held her name years past. The company grew, from a small tech startup to a corporate powerhouse. But somewhere in the glow of success, Ethan began changing. IT started small. Missed dinners, unanswered calls, new cologne she didn't buy. Then came the whispers. The pitying glances at company parties. Lena remembered one night vividly. The charity gala. The moment that broke her heart long before the divorce did. She stood by the champagne table, wearing a dress she'd saved up for months to buy. Ethan was across the room, laughing, a hand on Melissa's back. Lena saw the way people looked at them. And worse, the way no one looked at her. A colleague whispered nearby. Poor Lena. She built that man's empire and now she's invisible. The words cut deeper than any betrayal. Back in the courtroom, Lena's jaw tightened. The rain outside grew heavier. You made me invisible, Ethan. But I kept the receipts, because while he was busy chasing status, Lena had been quietly documenting every cent, every wire transfer, every business expense that went to fund Melissa's designer wardrobe, her vacations, her secret apartment. Lena never wanted revenge, she wanted truth. And now, for the first time, the world was about to see it. Her lawyer, a composed woman named Renee, leaned closer. Lena, she whispered, are you sure you want to do this? Once it's out, there's no going back. Lena looked up, eyes steady. He made his choices. Now he faces them. Renee nodded, sliding a small flash drive into her folder. This has the files. Lena exhaled. Everything. Bank statements, email logs, and the recording. Renee froze. Recording. Lena's voice softened, trembling only slightly. The one from his office. The day he told me I was nothing without him. The day everything changed, Lena had gone to Ethan's office to surprise him for their anniversary. Instead, she'd heard laughter through the door. Melissa's laughter and Ethan's voice, low, cruel, proud. She's just a nurse with a calculator. She wouldn't have a clue how to run this place without me. Melissa giggled. Then why keep her around? Ethan chuckled. Because I need her name on the books. Makes the taxes cleaner. Lena remembered standing there, frozen, heart hammering, fingers gripping the doorframe until her knuckles turned white. That was the night she stopped loving him. That was the night she started preparing. The judge re-entered the courtroom. All rise. The gavel hit. Thud. The rain outside had stopped. The air felt charged, electric. Mrs. Carter, the judge said, adjusting his glasses. You may proceed with your evidence. Lena rose slowly, every movement deliberate. Her heels clicked softly against the marble, each step echoing like a countdown to truth. Ethan's lawyer leaned toward him, whispering urgently. Melissa fidgeted with her bracelet, avoiding eye contact. Lena stopped in front of the bench. Her voice was calm. I have here documented proof that Mr. Carter embezzled funds from our joint business account and used them for personal affairs. A gasp rippled through the courtroom. Ethan's smirk vanished. The judge leaned forward. Do you have proof, Mrs. Carter? Renee opened her folder, sliding a flash drive across the table. Yes, Your Honor, she said firmly. We do. The clerk inserted the drive into the computer. The courtroom lights dimmed slightly as the screen flickered to life. Ethan whispered harshly, Lena, stop this now. You don't know what you're doing. But Lena's voice cut through the dark. I know exactly what I'm doing. The screen lit up. Emails, transactions, dates. One by one, Ethan's lies illuminated like neon signs in the night. Melissa's hands flew to her mouth. Ethan's face turned pale. The judge's gavel struck once more. This court will review this evidence immediately. Lena took her seat, her heartbeat steady now. For the first time in years, she felt something unfamiliar bloom inside her chest. Not anger. Not revenge, freedom. And as Ethan sat frozen beside the woman he'd chosen over her, Lena whispered under her breath, You built your kingdom on deceit. Let's see how it stands in the light. The courtroom was quieter now, but not peaceful. It was the kind of silence that hummed with tension, heavy and waiting to explode. Ethan sat stiff, jaw clenched, his lawyer whispering frantic strategies beside him. Melissa kept her eyes down, her mascara smudged, her confidence long gone. But Lena sat upright. composed, almost serene. The judge announced a short recess for evidence review, and the courtroom began to empty. That's when Ethan stood, walking over to her, his voice low and venomous. "What the hell are you doing, Lena?" She didn't look up, telling the truth. He leaned in closer, jaw tightening. "You think this will end well for you? You'll walk away with nothing." Finally, Lena turned her gaze on him, calm, sharp, unshaken. "I already walked away with nothing, Ethan. Now I'm walking away with peace." He froze for a beat, and for the first time, she saw it. Fear. Real fear in the eyes of the man who once thought he was untouchable. Outside the courtroom, Renee and Lena found a quiet bench in the corridor. The hum of vending machines filled the space, along with faint echoes of murmured conversations. "You handled that beautifully," Renee said softly. "But Ethan's lawyer will try to spin this. They'll argue emotional instability, claim you planted evidence." Lena's lips curved faintly. "Let them. I have more than emails." She reached into her purse and pulled out a small black USB. "This," she whispered, "is the recording." Renee's eyes widened. "The office conversation?" "Yes. Unedited. Time-stamped." Renee nodded, slowly realizing the magnitude. This could end it. Later that evening, Lena sat alone in her car, parked outside her old home, the one she used to share with Ethan. The porch light was still the same. So with the red tulip she had planted, through the window, she could see Ethan's son, their son, Jamie, playing with a toy truck near the stairs. Her heart softened instantly. Jamie had always been her light, kind, curious. Full of laughter that healed wounds she never spoke of. She missed him terribly, and though the court had granted shared custody, Ethan often forgot to bring him for visits. Lena wiped her tears, steadying herself. She wasn't fighting for revenge anymore. She was fighting for Jamie's peace. Too, her phone buzzed. A text from Renee. "Judge requested continuation tomorrow morning. Be ready, big day." Lena stared at the glowing screen. Her reflection blinked back, tired but fierce. Tomorrow wasn't just about marriage. It was about reclaiming her name. The next morning, the courtroom was packed. Reporters whispered. The air felt charged. Ethan's lawyer strutted confidently toward the bench. "Your Honor, my client contends that Mrs. Carter's evidence was obtained through illegal surveillance." Before he could finish, Renee rose calmly. "Your Honor, we have verified the recording's authenticity and timestamp. It was captured within the legal framework of shared business property. Mrs. Carter was still an executive partner at the time." The judge nodded. "Proceed." Ethan shifted nervously, tugging at his tie. Melissa avoided his gaze completely. Renee pressed play, static. Then Ethan's voice filled the courtroom, clear, cold, arrogant. "She's just a nurse with a calculator. She wouldn't have a clue how to run this place without me. Then why keep her around?" Melissa's voice chimed in, smug. "Because I need her name on the books. Makes the taxes cleaner." Gasps rippled through the room. Someone in the back muttered, "Wow." Lena didn't move. She just stared straight ahead, silent, still, unflinching. The judge paused the playback, adjusting his glasses. "Mr. Carter, is that your voice?" Ethan swallowed hard. That was taken out of context. Answer the question." "Yes," he said finally, voice cracking. "It's me." The tension snapped. Reporters scribbled furiously. Cameras flashed. Melissa slowly inched her chair away from Ethan. Lena exhaled, almost trembling, not from fear, but from release. Years of humiliation, gaslighting, silence, and now, truth echoing through a courtroom for everyone to hear. Renee leaned toward her, whispering, "We've got them. Completely." Lena nodded, whispering back, "No, not yet. The real storm's still coming." Because there was one more file she hadn't revealed. One more truth about how Ethan had forged financial documents in her name to evade taxes. A truth that would destroy not just his pride, but his empire. The recess bell rang again. The judge dismissed the court for the afternoon. Ethan's lawyer rushed to him, panicked. "We need to settle. Now." But Ethan didn't move. He just sat there, pale, his arrogance stripped bare. As the courtroom emptied, Lena stood and gathered her things. She glanced at him one last time and said quietly, "Tomorrow, I'll show you what strength really looks like." Then she walked away, heels clicking with the rhythm of victory that hadn't even arrived yet. Outside, the wind howled through the city. A storm was coming. And for once, Lena wasn't afraid of it. The next morning, rain lashed against the courthouse windows. Thunder rolled above like the sky itself was holding its breath. Inside, the courtroom buzzed, reporters ready, cameras waiting. The air was electric. Ethan sat at the defense table, eyes bloodshot, hands clenched. Melissa sat beside him, trying to look calm, but her lipstick trembled with every exhale. Lena entered quietly. Black blazer. Simple bun. Steady gaze. No jewelry, no makeup. Only resolve. You could hear the sound of her heels on the marble floor. Click, 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 each one echoing like a countdown. She took her seat beside Renee. The judge adjusted his glasses. Court is now in session. Mrs. Carter, you may proceed with your final statement. Lena stood slowly. Every movement deliberate. Every breath controlled. She turned toward Ethan, the man who had once vowed forever but replaced love with humiliation. Her voice was calm, but the words cut like glass. When I married you, I believed in us. I believed in building something together. But you believed in building walls. Walls between power and love. Between truth and image. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Ethan's lawyer started to rise, but the judge raised a hand. Let her speak. Lena continued, pacing slowly. You said I was nothing without you. That I should stay quiet, smile, and let you handle the world. But here's the truth. She paused, turning toward the gallery, voice trembling now. I was quiet. For too long. Until silence started to feel like consent. Click. Renee pressed play on the laptop. A new recording filled the room. Ethan's voice again, only this time, colder, moved the company funds through Lena's accounts. She'll never know. She's too busy pretending to be a saint. And if the IRS asks questions? Melissa whispered. Then she'll take the fall. I'll make sure of it. Gasps. Whispers. A single cough echoed like a gunshot in the silence that followed. The judge leaned forward, jaw tightening. Mr. Carter, is this your voice again? Ethan's lawyer stammered. Your Honor, this is inadmissible without proof of. Renee rose sharply. We have proof. She handed over a printed copy of an email exchange, authenticated by timestamp and server trace. It was undeniable. Ethan's face drained of color. Melissa looked at him, horrified. You said it was just business. He hissed under his breath. Shut up. The judge's gavel slammed. Bang. Enough. The entire room froze. Mr. Carter, the judge said, voice firm. What I've heard today is not merely marital misconduct. It's corporate fraud, financial abuse, and moral bankruptcy. Do you have anything to say before this court makes its recommendation? Ethan swallowed, searching for words, any words. But none came. Only silence. Lena stood perfectly still, eyes glistening, not with triumph, but with truth. Finally, Ethan exhaled. I didn't mean to. The judge cut him off. You meant every word on those recordings. Another bang of the gavel. The sound reverberated through the air like thunder. The court grants full divorce in favor of Mrs. Lena Carter, along with restitution for damages and shared custody rights. Mr. Carter will face separate criminal investigation for financial misconduct. Melissa gasped. Wait, what about me? The judge's eyes flicked toward her. You participated knowingly. You'll be subpoenaed as well. The room erupted, reporters scribbling, murmurs rising. Ethan sank into his chair, head in his hands. His empire, built on arrogance and deceit, crumbled before the world's eyes. Lena remained motionless, eyes fixed forward. Not gloating. Not smiling. Just breathing. The storm outside grew louder, wind howling, rain thrashing against the glass. The judge rose. Court adjourned. Bang! Ethan looked up, defeated. Lena, he whispered. You ruined me. She turned to him, calm, dignified. No, Ethan. You ruined yourself. I just stopped covering the mess. Then she walked past him, leaving behind years of silence, tears, and gaslighting, replaced now by clarity. The camera, if this were a film, would linger, slow motion, on Ethan collapsing into his chair as Lena's footsteps faded into the echoing hall. Renee caught up to her outside the courtroom. You did it, she said softly. Lena shook her head. No, she said, her voice low but firm. I survived it. A distant rumble of thunder rolled again. This time, not a warning. A release. The courthouse steps gleamed under the soft after-rain light. The storm had passed. Reporters still lingered by the gates, microphones in hand, whispering headlines that would soon circle the internet. Judge exposes cheating husband in courtroom showdown. Black woman outwits corporate tycoon. But Lena didn't care for any of it. She stood on the steps, her umbrella half open, the drizzle misting her cheeks. The air smelled like wet pavement and new beginnings. Renee placed a hand on her shoulder. You ready to go home? Lena looked at the horizon. For the first time in years. I actually have one. They both smiled, not the kind born of victory, but of relief. 3 weeks later, sunlight filtered through sheer curtains. A small apartment. Modest, but warm. Children's laughter spilled from the next room. Her twins, coloring on the floor, a framed document hung on the wall. Her nursing degree, something Ethan once mocked her for chasing. Next to it, a photo. Lena standing in front of the courthouse, head held high. The news channels still played snippets of the courtroom exchange. Ethan's company stock had plummeted. Investigations had begun. Melissa had vanished from the tabloids entirely, but Lena's story, her story, had ignited something online. Thousands of comments poured in under the viral headline asterisk. She didn't just win a case. She rewrote the narrative. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. At the community clinic, Lena adjusted her stethoscope as a young girl, barely 12, sat before her nervously. You're scared of needles? Lena asked with a gentle smile. The girl nodded. Lena chuckled softly. When I was your age, I was scared of everything. But you know what I learned. The girl looked up. That sometimes, the people who scare us are just testing if we'll stand tall. She gave the girl her vaccine with a steady hand, then winked. See, courage isn't loud. It's quiet, but it changes everything. Later that day, she walked out of the clinic to find an envelope tucked under her windshield wiper. No return address. Just her name, inside, a single sheet of paper. A handwritten note. You taught me what real strength looks like. I'm seeking treatment. Thank you for holding a mirror I was too afraid to face. Ethan Lena stared at the note for a long time. No anger. No satisfaction. Just peace. She folded it carefully, placed it in her purse, and looked up at the fading sky, colors melting from gold to violet. That night, Lena recorded a short video, the same way she once helped other women anonymously online. Her voice was steady, resonant, filled with quiet truth. They tried to make me smaller, quieter, weaker. But silence doesn't heal injustice. Speaking does. Don't ever believe your worth depends on who stands beside you. Sometimes the person who leaves was just making space for who you were meant to become. The comments poured in within hours. Messages from women in hospitals, schools, offices, some whispering thank you through tears. 1 year later, a new community center opened downtown, the Carter Foundation for Women's Justice. Funded anonymously. Though many suspected who had made the donation, Lena stood before a small crowd, ribbon in hand. Reporters clicked cameras. She smiled faintly and spoke into the microphone. Some people wear badges. Others wear courage. Today isn't about revenge. It's about rebirth, because every woman who survives injustice doesn't just rebuild her life, she builds a bridge for the next one to cross. The ribbon fell. Applause swelled, and somewhere, the same storm clouds that once hovered over her life had finally cleared for good. Or if this story moved you, share it, because truth always finds a way.